Last year, SNL was, I think, about as funny as it ever gets on television. My first guest is, and you're not, Chevy Chase, folks. Chevy. Mr.
Well,
Chase.
it's good to see one of our own finally doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Chevy. Hey. You know what kills me is that I did that show for 6 years, and every time anybody ever interviewed me, the first question was, what's it like to follow Chevy? Yeah. And I think you only did 23 shows, didn't you? Or something?
Yeah, 23 shows. That was it.
Wasn't that weird? Did you do 23 shows 15 years ago, and you make such a dent that to this day, that's all anybody talks about?
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, that's unfair. It's unfair to everybody who's doing that show now. I mean, Mike and Dana and all those guys, Phil, because you all get the rap of, well, what about the legends, you know, and all that stuff. I mean, that's never been fair.
Yeah.
So you had your way of doing it. I had my way. Jane had her way of doing it, and Kevin does it now. Kevin.
Yeah, you did it with him last week,
yeah,
or a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, he does. You know, and it's always in how can I follow? You know, it's how can I follow Dennis? So same thing.
Now, looking back, was that like? Did you think you left too soon? Was that like?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If I'd known.
No, I mean just from.
If I'd known you were coming on, I would have stayed a lot longer. Yeah, I did miss it. I missed it a lot, and I always regretted it. But I kept quiet about that for. A number of years. It was more of, and I think you know that because you knew Lauren well too, that it was a relatively personal decision that made me leave.
Yeah, it wasn't even showbiz as much as it was you wanted to get
not like
married.
I had a lucrative contract out here. I wanted to get married. Mm-hmm. And when...
What a softy Chevy is. He had it all, and he left it for the love of a good woman. Now, when did that marriage end?
Lasted for a year. Kaput, 9 months. Took half of everything I owned.
Yeah, but she got you out of the show.
Yeah. This is a nice set. This is sort of a cross between Twin Peaks and Michael Eisner's house in Aspen. Have you been there?
Oh, yeah, I had a better chance actually being the Twin Peaks than I have the Michael Eisner's house, for God's sake.
But the guy who did this, I understand, is the same guy, Leo Yoshimura, who did
Saturday Night
Live. It's a beautiful set, and I'd like to congratulate Leo.
Yeah, Leo. Leo always plays
He always played Lieutenant...
in Star Trek.
Who is it?
Lieutenant...
The guy in the front.
Zulu,
yeah.
Yeah, Leo
has been up 4 nights just building the set for Star Trek, and then there'd be playing Sulu and missing his lines. Well, Belushi and me and Dan had been sleeping all night.
To this day, maybe the 2 funniest sketches on SNL were the original Star Trek, and then the one with Lovitz. Did you see the Lovitz one when Shatner addressed?
Very funny.
Isn't that funny? Both of them were.
When you have Shatner, you can't lose.
Yeah, that was so great when he said, Shatner finally looked at the people and said, "Get a life."
Yeah.
I think it was a cathartic moment for America at that point.
I think he meant it.
Yes, he did. And by the way, I saw Shatner doing a dramatic reading today of Rocket Man. Have you ever seen this video?
No.
At a science fiction convention, they got him to do a dramatic reading.
Dennis.
It's the best TV I've ever seen in my life. It is the funniest thing. We got to show it to you after the show. I've got a copy of it. Do you ever go back and look at any of the tapes of the old show, or did you just leave it behind?
I did. I recently looked back at some of the early stuff, the Pryor show, and some of the Buck Henry stuff in the L.A. Ghouls show, and they were very funny. I really got a kick out of them. And times change, you know. It really, people say, well, the show's not as good, and it was more that the tenor of the times changed, I think, and it was difficult to deal with comedy during a period when you had a president with the brain of an egg timer, basically.
You and Laura went down and met him, though, right?
Yeah. No, that was Ford. I'm talking about Reagan. I'm talking about the 80s. You know, the entire 80s.
Boy, when you say a president with the brain of an egg timer, I got a whole handful to do from there.
Ford was the bunt cake.
What was he like when you met him? Did he enjoy the thing I loved about you, your impersonations were so ballsy because you never made any impression, you never made any attempt to look or act like these people.
There are 2 very bad stand stand-up comics in this world I'm not a stand-up. Steve Martin, who is a good stand-up comic. The two of the worst mimics in the world are Steve and I. We just can't and won't even touch it. So I just figured for Ford, it was just hit your head and go, no problem. And that was it. And that covered it. Whereas Dan could do, you know, great Nixon, great Tom Snyder, any of them. He could do great Carter.
Yeah, Danny
wasn't my thing.
Danny was seamless. Now, tell us about the new film. I saif it last night. I thought it was great. And I went out to...
It's great of you to see it. It's
great that you find that great.
If I may say so, it's great that I'm here. I know you have a clip. It's basically called Memoirs of an Invisible Man. It will always be called that. And
great.
Based on a novel, and it's great that I made it. And
is the clip great?
It's terrific, terrific.
Because
Let me explain this clip before we roll it. I'm invisible in it. You can see me. And in the film, you'll see me most of the time because the studio said we simply don't want to spend $40 million on a film that we can't see you in, Jeff. I was saying I simply don't want to work. If I could be invisible, I wouldn't have to. But the fact of the matter is, when the audience's point of view is watching my character, they can see me. And I think what you have here is also some kind of B-roll that explains what we're about to do, and then they show the scene as shot.
So you're invisible?
As far as you know.
Thus, the pathos.
There you have it.
All right, let's look at the clip, Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
I don't even know what it is.
B-roll?
But he has to look at you to jump back, right? You're just keeping a dead path, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not jumping out of his way.
No,
he would miss me anyway.
Yeah. But to make it closer, if you did spot me,
why not I spot you and jump out of your way?
Out of the way, and I'll just keep right there.
So then when I come up here, I'll take my time this much, and then I'll see you.
And go for it.
And right about then, I'll be right past the white line right here.
Yeah, and okay.
Dive
Good
out
luck
of
for
the
both
way.
of us. Okay.
Hey, wait a second,
Hey,
man.
wait a minute.
What gives? Where's the clip?
There was no clip. I guess that was just some kind of videotape of us shooting a scene.
Last time
That's not, in fact, the scene in the movie.
Who were those guys? The last time I
have
saw
no
them any
idea.
ponytails,
That was,
it was
John
Josie and the
Carpenter.
Pussycats, for God's sake.
You meant Sean Connery, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
the Pussycats.
We're going to be back with Dr. Chase and discuss Memoirs of an Invisible Man a little more right after this with
your
Chevy
help.
Chase, folks. Bye-bye. Welcome back, Chevy Chase. Geez, I wish they would have sent us an actual clip because there's so many.
I wish they had sent us is the correct syntax.
I'm constantly haunted by this man.
I wish I would have would be the conditional subjunctive at the wrong time. I'm just kidding.
All right, conditionally, subjectively. What the hell
you're right.
was with that
I wish
clip?
we had a clip. What was with the clip? We don't have a clip?
There's so many funny, some of the visuals in there were so funny when you're smoking. Was that some
true.
anti-smick statement there, or what?
A little bit. There's a lot of visual special effects in this, and they are expensive, and they're basically done by the same guys who did Terminator 2 and Predator and The Abyss, and it's a workout. It's a workout on the actor because I had to wear lenses that covered my eyes and black makeup in my mouth and all around my face, and just general junk on me, glycerin and syrup. And Daryl kisses this invisible man who's come out of the rain as if there's nothing on it. I mean, it looks like she's kissing a beautiful image. She's getting crap all over her hand, black all over her face, and it's take after take after take. I mean, it's a tough life.
When she took... You talk about your conditional subjunctive. Now, when you were out with her at dinner, that was the funniest scene. You look like Jimmy Swaggart or something, or some...
No, a little like Roy Orbison or...
really bizarre wig.
But these are inside jokes. You have to see the movie, too.
Oh, the movie isn't even out till tomorrow, right?
It's not out until... It opens tonight.
Can they go see it, come back, we meet here Saturday and talk about it?
I'd like to be here tomorrow morning.
Okay, sure. Let's do AM Chevy.
Thank you.
Now, you were a host one night. Didn't you try this once? Do you find it as difficult as I do sometimes?
I tried it once on Carson, and it was so tough. That's why I watched you your first week, because I thought I'd feel for this guy, because I don't think I made eye contact any further than that mic between you and me. Didn't hear a word the other person said. Was only conscious of the fact that it seemed like even the shortest sentence my guest said seemed like an hour. Like I should be talking, I should be funny now.
Right.
It's time for me to cut in. I haven't talked in a long time. Haven't heard a word they said. I mean, it was just frightening. It's a very scary thing, and you'd think that people such as us who come out of live television, that this would be a snap, but it really isn't. It's very difficult, and you're doing a great job.
Well, thanks, Chevy. You know, thank you. Now you did this one night. You hosted a talk show, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. What happened?
I was not paying attention.
I know, and I was just doing Bob and Ray.
Okay, beautiful. Now, Carson, he's the genius at it, isn't he? Jesus, when you watch it.
You know.
Oh, I said Jesus. Sorry.
I don't think he'll mind. I've known Johnny a long time.
Both JCs.
Yeah, but, the thing is it's not a question of who's better. It's a question of what it is about each person individually. What Johnny's great at is making his guests look good.
Right.
This is a very funny guy who's been doing it a long time, for 30 years, and he's still, in spite of all the stuff you hear about how close to the vest he is and how egotistical and all those things that are rumors, he still makes it his job to see to it that his guest looks good. And that's a very tough thing in making this kind of show work, and he does that well.
Now, you play poker with him and Steve, right?
Yeah, Steve Martin and Carl Reiner and Dan Melnick and Neil Simon and Johnny Carson. It's a very funny game. I have my poker face, which the whole game is this. That way you never know if it's bad or good.
Who's the best bluffer out of that group?
Steve never bluffs.
No.
If he starts betting, he's got, a king-high
So
flush.
he's like the jerk when he plays.
That's right. That's right. Johnny's out he's just out. He's out. He's not going to play till he's got a winner. Then he's a big winner. Barry Diller loses thousands, but
he doesn't have to lose
anymore. Very funny. Yeah. It's just a fun game, and it's not. It doesn't take a lot of deep minds to play this game. These are games where hold a card up your forehead and bet on it. That kind of thing. It's not heavy poker.
Right. Hey, now, did I hear? I thought I heard you. Maybe it was on Alan King. He does that fine show on Comedy Central, Inside the Comedy Mind. Were you serious that you might go back to television at some point in the future? Or?
I am now.
I mean, doing a regular show. I thought I heard.
Doing it here.
You have any interest in that?
No, I don't think so. It could happen. It would depend really on the money, and it would depend on the venue, and really it would depend on whether I could have my way totally. Be subversive and do what I want.
I'd imagine if you walk back into TV, they'd write you a blank check as far as doing what you want. So
I don't know about that. I've been off for some time, and I make movies now, and it's a different thing. It's tough. I don't know.
Well, this movie I thought was interesting for you because.
Am I supposed to be looking at you? I can't tell from the setup.
Yeah, it's
whether I'll be looking at you.
We're trying to work on
more
this.
Toward that.
Well, actually,
most of this
over that way.
Okay. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. I
thought this last film was great, and it was more like foul play. You got back to acting instead of just doing Chevy. Sometimes your movies are, it's funny when you do Chevy, but you were definitely playing a character in this one. Is that what you'd like to do in the future?
It was more like that, and in fact, the first time I see Goldie in foul play, I made a move that once I had filmed Memoirs, I realized was the same exact move I made when I saw Goldie. I was throwing a peanut into my mouth, chewing, and I saw her and stopped. And in this one, I look at Daryl, I'm throwing a peanut in my mouth, I see her and I stop, and it's 10 years later.
Same peanut?
The same peanut.
Everything's recycled in Hollywood.
The whole thing, yeah.
Good to see you, Chevy.
Is that it?
Well, yeah, we got a...
It's worse than Letterman.
Huh?
I didn't even finish the sentence.
I'm sorry, they were finished. Chevy Chase, folks. We'll be right back with Little Joe Kidd.